Hello lads! On the previous episode we took advantage of the French-built Suez Canal in order to colonize Arabia. We also had to deal with the economic aftermath of being kicked out of the British sphere, because my industry was dependent on British products, and as soon as I left their sphere, a very good portion of my industry became unprofitable. And of course, I had to deal with some pretty massive revolts, mostly by Turkish patriots, but also from socialists. Speaking of the Turks, after thinking about it a little bit and after also consulting with you guys, I decided that I will not be using the genocide mechanic, since apparently not only it is not very effective in its job, but also in addition to the already significant drawbacks of this decision, which are already crippling, apparently there are even more hidden drawbacks that you get throughout the duration of this event, and mostly they give you infamy, at least from what I can understand so far. So yeah, that being said, I am almost certain that this decision will not be worth it, and even if it was worth it, I simply cannot take full advantage of it due to my infamy. I could of course release some countries to alleviate my infamy, but in the end, it's not genocide is pretty weak as of the current version of HPM. And instead I will continue to rely upon craftsman assimilation in order to Hellenize these territories. My industrial subsidies have reached the point of requiring hundreds in subsidies each day in order to even work. This is pretty sad, and more or less it means that I will have to rely entirely on tariffs to keep me in the green until some great power spheres me. It looks like I will not be able to suppress the suffrage movement for much longer. And saying that the membership accounts for up to 25% of my population, and that I no longer have much reason to remain an absolute monarchy, there is little reason for me to continue postponing granting voting rights, so I will just do it. Back in the day, event, reading the results of these voting events wasn't so hard. I really have no idea what Granty is doing. And so my industry is on some serious trouble right now. My textile mills alone cost me around £250 a day, which is something that I had predicted around 2 or 3 episodes ago. I said something like this, that essentially I wasn't so sure about expanding my textile mills, because as soon as I would leave the English sphere, they would no longer be a viable option. And things really ended up exactly like that. But that's not what I want to talk about. What I want to talk about, and what is a bit infuriating, is the industry tab. Now, as you can probably see, for whatever reason, every single textile mill is on the green. +2 per day, +2, plus 0.6. But of course, if you hover over this, you will see that it's actually not on the green. They actually have been bankrupt for over 130 days, and they can't even sell half of what they produce daily. So essentially, as if everything else wasn't enough, The industry tab right now is completely unreliable for some reason. I cannot trust any number right now to accurately tell me ho- ho- if I am making a profit, and if I am not making a profit, how large the deficit is, because pretty much a lot of the things that you see right now that are on the green are actually bankrupt. And of course, I know that my high tariffs play a significant, they have a significant impact on making my factories unprofitable, but my problem is that the game cannot portray to me accurately how unprofitable they are and what changes I should make. Instead, I have to go out of my way and check out the subsidies for each factory individually, which isn't exactly very efficient, especially in a strategy video game. But, you know, who cares? I suppose that if I increase my score a little bit more, I will no longer have to deal with these problems. And I have absolutely no idea what just happened. Merely minutes ago, Sudan was a French colony, and suddenly Sudan is completely independent and outside of the French sphere of influence or control. Did France just give up? Did they get a rebellion that they couldn't suppress on time? I have no idea. But interestingly, they are under the control of the Mahdists, which I am not very sure, but I am pretty sure that they are like Islamic fundamentalists. And you know, it's always interesting to see uncivs achieving something on their own, you know, rather than always becoming colonies. But with the Germans right next to them, they probably don't have much of a future. And yes, it looks like the Prussians just completely subjugated Ethiopia. And the Liberal Party just won. Not that it matters really, the only difference it had compared to the Reactionary Party is that you can't build factories on your own. That's it pretty much. And if I want to, I can just change it whenever I feel like it. So it's not really an inconvenience in any way. I also doubled my army because I had to deal with a lot of rebellions, and honestly, just two armies barely felt enough to deal with those rebellions. And as soon as I can afford it, I will also see if I can upgrade my navy, because I don't want the previous disaster in my war against Spain to repeat itself. And you know, having a strong navy is always useful. You never know when you will need it. This seriously needs to be fixed. Anyways, regarding the Ottomans, they really are no longer a threat to me. In fact, I have almost doubled their population, and their army isn't in any shape able to oppose me. Which, you know, it's pretty reasonable judging from all the military defeats that they suffered. But the problem is that they are on the American sphere of influence. And that's a little bit of a problem, since I really wanted to fix those Libyan borders and complete my Northern African colony. And let's be real, this looks really ugly. And this is what I was talking about earlier. This is where the navy becomes relevant. In a hypothetical war where I attack the Ottomans, I would need a strong navy in order to blockade the American transports from potentially sending reinforcements, and of course in order to be able to defeat the Spanish navy, which will no doubt do the same strategy as in the previous war and start blockading all of my ports. and inducing me massive amounts of war exhaustion. Now, speaking of Spain, it looks like they apparently overthrew the monarchy and now they are a liberal republic. That's pretty interesting. Also, it looks like Russia never attacked Manchuria in order to establish Vladivostok here. Not that it really matters though, since I doubt that the Qing will be able to westernize at all during this campaign. Also, Japan is once again not having a very good time. Almost half their country, including their capital, are occupied by rebels, and it looks like half of these rebels are militant socialists and the other half are Jacobins. And seeing that it is the Jacobins that managed to occupy the capital, I bet that we will soon see the communists being overthrown and establishing a liberal republic in Japan. Persia, which is under the Russian sphere, is also doing well and they are on the verge of westernizing, though that little British blob right here is really unsightly. A lot of people also complained about British Syria, but in my opinion it doesn't really look that bad. I mean, if you think about it, it's pretty similar to the French mandate of Syria, with the exception that they also have some parts of Cilicia. And I was just thinking of giving independence to Yemen, but I just realized that here in their capital there is a 7% community of Greek settlers, and I found that pretty interesting. Perhaps I can try to settle this province and see if I can turn it into a state. And it looks like the Arabian Desert appears to be a pretty appealing destination for some Greek colonists. In this desert right here, we have over 18% of the population are Greeks. That's pretty funny. Anyways, that's going to be it for this episode. I know that not a lot happened in this campaign. In fact, only 3 years have passed since the end of the last episode. However, I had a lot of things to talk about and time passed by fast. On the next episode, I will be seeing what I can do with my economy in order to potentially be able to build a stronger navy and hopefully be able to contend with the other great powers on the sea. Anyways, thank you for watching and I will see you on the next episode. Goodbye.